Got it. Okay.
All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Trend Report. I'm glad you're here today for what I know is going to be a really interesting conversation with the folks from Green Hides Leather. I'm really excited to welcome Keith and Simone from Green Hides. How are you guys today?
Doing great. Thank you. Good.
So let's kick this party off. We met during spring breakout in March or April of 2021. I got to know you guys a little bit and excited to have you here today. Tell us who you are and what you do. Keith, you want to kick it off?
Sure. So Green Hides, we are a leather supplier, leather resource to the furniture industry. Our focus markets are contract, hospitality design, architectural design, and of course, as well as with the dealer market. We also have leathers, specialized leathers for the aviation industry as well. All of our leathers are manufactured in Italy, and one of the things that makes us unique is we share ownership with a tannery in Italy, and a lot of the leather brands here in the U.S. they just can't make that statement. They just essentially buy and resell for many different tanneries. So we feel that makes us unique and special.
That's awesome. So Simone, tell us a little bit about your venture in this and maybe how you and Keith came to partner together.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I moved in the U.S. from Italy, of course, in 2003. So the idea, I was already always been in my entire life in the leather business in Italy. And the idea was to open, a distribution center, warehouse in the United States. And, back then, North Carolina made a lot of sense because logistically it was a good position. And then there's a lot of history of furniture over here. A lot of the company they used to be here now less and less, but still it's a big hub for furniture. So at the beginning, we were looking for someone to come here and run this new company, but we couldn't find. So I was relatively young back then, 20 years ago. I say, okay, well, my kids were young, so we say, okay, let's make this adventure. And the idea was to start the company and then eventually find some other manager to stay, but I end up staying here. So I never went back. I go back all the time, but I never went back for good. And actually, Keith was one of my customers back then, one of my best customer, and we also developed a friendship. He would come here, inspect his leather, and I got to know him, to see his work ethic. Really the way he works was really something that caught my attention. So in that moment, I proposed him to become a member of the company, to join us. And, he thought about for a little bit. Then eventually, I think that was in 2007, Keith came aboard. And that's when we started to do things a little different. We were aiming more to the design world, the hospitality contract. So let's say we began our venture here more aiming to the residential market, but then after a few years we changed, and it was a change a little bit that it was due because we come from a very design back, so a lot of new leathers, new colors, and I have to say, the residential market is kind of same colors, same type of leathers, so it didn't let us express our, design with, to do something different. So it was a natural shift more to the design world, I guess.
So that's great. And
well,
I appreciate you sharing that story. Going all the way back to 2003, and you came into the country and started the business. So Keith, what was your background? What were you doing before you joined Green Hides?
Before I joined Green Hides, I was in partnership with another leather company, and actually they originally hired me in 1989, and the individuals that did, they went out on their own. They left that business and went out and opened their own business, and then I sort of stayed there where I was already, and then went out and worked with another European tannery, and we sort of circled back and joined forces again. And I worked for them as well as we formed another company where I was one of Simone's customers.
Got
And
it.
we actually met at a trade show. One of the tanneries I was working with, I was going to get an espresso. He's like, "Hey, go to this guy over here. He's got an espresso machine in his booth." And went over, met Simone, and looked on the wall. I'm like, "My God, you have all of these leathers here in the U.S. Stocked here in the U.S. I can do something with these."
Well, I guess you
And
should.
that's sort of how it started.
That's awesome. I love it. I guess you should thank the espresso machine then for bringing this
Exactly.
partnership
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
That's great. I love to hear how things like that happen and the story of what brings together. And so you both have always been in the textiles business. So it makes sense that, you're still, and what you're doing today. So tell us a little bit, you mentioned multiple markets. So you got the design market, the hospitality, the residential, you've got the dealer community, you're doing OEMs with manufacturers because you have graded in programs. So tell us a little bit about Greenhide as a company and what separates you guys from the other leather companies.
Keith, I'll let you elaborate on.
Okay.
You're gonna test his sales pitch. Is that what you're gonna do, Simone?
Well, I think I touched out a little bit on that earlier. Is one of the primary things is that we share ownership with the tannery, and I think that really gives us a big advantage of flexibility, responsiveness, to our customers. A couple other things, Greenhides, on the environmental side of things, all of our leathers, they're produced under REACH compliance, which it's a European standard that has aims to protect both human and environmental health. And I really like that because a lot of the things we're familiar with here in the US, they either focus on human or environmental, not both. Mm-hmm. But yet in Europe, all of our leathers are produced under the REACH certification.
And I just want to interrupt for a second. Keith,
Sure.
You're saying REACH, like
Yes,
REACH. Okay. So I've not heard of that. So we will grab some research or a white paper or something about it and drop in the show notes for anybody that would be interested in learning more about that. But it's about human and environmental compliance.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And talk about for a minute the benefits in a little more detail, if you don't mind, about being in shared ownership with a tannery. What does that help you with?
Keith, do you want me to elaborate?
Yeah, you take that.
Yeah, I mean, I think see a lot of advantages. Sometimes it could be also a problem when you deal just with one vendor, so you kind of lock to their platform, to their, you don't, let's say, we like to say we don't shop around tanneries, we see a nice leather from a tannery that we don't know, okay, we put this new leather. So everything comes from them. And they're also a lot they're fashion oriented, so we took a lot of leathers that come from from the bag industry, for example, or from the shoes industry, and made it suitable for more the furniture world. Okay. And we have this constant input from them. We used to travel, I mean, before COVID, I used to, sometime I would be in Italy for 2 months. Okay, so in these 2 months, you leave the tannery, you will leave the production, you leave the ideas and everything. Keith was coming at least once or twice a year. Now, obviously, that it's more complicated to travel, but we have this, safety. Then when we come out with ideas, we know that we can count on them to develop our ideas, because both Keith and I, we're not technical, we don't know, we don't, we know the chemicals, the way you do leather. Okay, we know the basis, but obviously there are people there that they've done that all their life. So we give them the idea, hey, we're looking for this, and we know they're going to deliver. And I'm telling you, say 99% of the time, sometimes they do better than what we are expecting, you know. So, and we have this constant relationship with them. They're friends, you know. When we go there, it's more like, you know how the Italian are. We don't talk much business, bottle wine, have a nice lunch, and bond, you know. But then that's where the ideas come, you know, because
Sure.
I'm looking for something for, and you know, so there is this that relationship that goes way beyond the business
Sure.
relationship. So
So,
we feel really fortunate, you know.
well, one day I'd love to visit. I've been to Italy once. It's been 22 years ago. I went in 2000 when I was working for a major brand, and I went to Bologna and to Venice. I got to tour a
Okay.
manufacturing facility in Bologna. It was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd love to see a tannery. So basically, Simone, what you said was, and I'll reframe it just a minute, is some of the benefits
Yeah.
include product development,
Yes.
design, and I really appreciate how you talk about how you go to other industries and you look at the leather designs, whether it's in the handbag industry or the shoe industry,
Yeah.
and you see what trends are there and what's working. And then you figure out in partnership with the tannery, how to bring that product to furniture, whether it's residential or commercial, and even aviation for that matter.
Yeah, because if you look the trends of colors, and they all come from fashion
Yep.
inevitably. Okay, then in our words they come few years later. Okay, so sometimes me and Keith we joke because we have been ahead of time many times. We presented new leathers, new colors, and when we presented, people were like, "Oh, wow, that's too European. I don't know. It's strange." And then after 3-4 years, we see the same thing.
Here it
That
is.
when me and Keith kind of gave up, say, "Okay, well, they didn't like it," but you know, so sometimes we are too ahead of time.
So what you're saying is the tannery doesn't like your innovation, that you're too forward thinking for them.
No. What I mean, like, you know, yeah, probably the fashion world is
Sure.
so quick. Every 6 months it change. You
Yep.
know, so obviously, you know, the furniture industry is not so quick. Okay, well,
Oh no.
yeah, it's more, you know, product needs to stick and stay, and the fashion they keep changing. So we gotta be good and mitigate these too quick and too slow, and that's
Sure.
I think what me and Keith are trying to do with the help of the tannery, you know. So obviously we have some leathers that they've been the same for 30 years
Yeah.
and they
Right.
still are top sellers. So it's not all about innovation, new, you know, the tradition is important too, but you got to have a mix.
So let's talk for a second about the type of leathers that you actually make. So obviously there's, and I'm going to butcher the different types, but I know there's like a top grain leather, right? And then there's synthetic leather. Do you make all of that? I mean, give us a little insight about the types of leather that you guys offer.
I think synthetic is not leather.
Okay. I mean, people say this is synthetic leather, right? I mean, it's not, it's really vinyl,
It's
but
not. If it's not from an animal, it's not leather.
Sure. But
Yeah.
well, educate me here. Are there different types of leather that are available for the consumer or for the dealer? Okay. Can you explain them then? That's a better reframe.
Yeah, there's two basic categories would be full anilines or semi-aniline leathers. Okay. And in full anilines would be leathers that are just purely aniline dyed. They really don't have any surface protection on the surface.
Okay.
Then you have semi-aniline leathers that are also aniline dyed, but they have color pigmented finishes on the surface that provides a uniform coloration and high technical values. And, you know, typically or historically, those have been the type of leathers the contract world has been familiar with. You know, they've been sort of the mainstays of the contract industry. And then within those categories, you have full top grain, full grain, corrected grain, enhanced grain, and that can be leathers, full grains that are, you know, the pure natural grain from nature, to corrected grain, corrected and embossed that are buffed, and then they receive an artificial grain or embossing on the surface.
Right. Okay. So that sounds a little bit technical, but I totally understood it. And so I hope all of you listening, if you hit the back button, you'll hear him explain that again. But I think that's really fascinating because I think it's interesting to learn about all different aspects of our industry. And this is something that a lot of us don't really talk about. We see a leather card and we see the different types and we pick a color, we pick a pattern and we're like, okay, this works. And then they are either using the graded in programs or they're doing the COL, which is, for those of you that may not be aware, customer owned leather. So you're buying it by the hide in order to, do the manufacturing and things of that nature. So I think it's interesting to learn how all of this develops. And, you guys have had your card program with the brands. So you're doing your, that OEM work, if you will. And then how long ago did you actually start going directly to the dealer community and leveraging independent reps? And tell us about that journey a little bit.
We always sort of, piddled with that, if you will, a little, just because of the carded OEM programs. But just recently in the last year, we really started becoming more aggressive in trying to develop our relationships with the dealer community. And for one thing, they have great brand recognition. We have great brand recognition with that community because of those OEM relationships. I think we've built a lot of trust with the dealer community because they come directly to us from MO samples and whatnot, and we deliver. And that's one thing that about us too, is I like to say we're a proactive company, not a reactive company. And usually they know. I see them at Neocon. They go, "Oh, Keith, yeah, we love you guys. We ask for samples, and they go out the same day." So we just really started trying to build that relationship this year.
Mm-hmm. Also, this is a little bit new then, working directly to the dealer community. Okay, great. And so I want to skip to, and I appreciate that you're going to the dealer community. Obviously, the dealers control an enormous amount of specifications in our industry. Their direct communication with the designers and specifying through the design community. So you hear a lot about what the community wants and what the community needs, price points, as well as color, texture, designs, and all those things. But let's talk for a minute about innovation, because Keith, when we met and you shared with me what you guys have done, I'm like, wow, that is really cool. So talk about this innovation that you came up with and kind of where the idea came from and how long did it take you to get that product to market? So I'll let either one of you grab it and run with it.
Keith, you can start, then I can.
So the top secret bleach-cleanable project that we worked on back in early 2020. So sort of the background there, in some of our leathers, we're already familiar with bleach-cleanable surfaces in leather, just from some of our work in the aerospace industry. And one of the companies in that industry had requested that we develop a leather for aviation that had bleach cleanability capabilities, bleach cleanable capabilities in the finish, but it was more from a soil and stain removal perspective. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that was probably back in 2015 when we developed that. 2020 came along, and all of a sudden, bleach cleanable surfaces, capability was more, even more important, but more from a perspective of disinfecting and sanitizing.
Yep.
So we looked at our product line. We did a lot of research with labs, and that's what I did during shutdown and during lockdown. I would come to the office by myself and all day just study, do all my research on bleach cleanable, talking with the tannery in Italy. One of the things we talked about was develop a new product. And Simone and I really didn't like that idea. We wanted to explore further about enhancing our current product. When all of our OEM manufacturers, the manufacturers, they were invested in the sampling already. It was already distributed into the marketplace. And during lockdowns, how are you going to distribute a new product? It's going to be very difficult.
Great question. Yeah.
That's where we focused was, our primary leathers. So how can we enhance those to develop a bleach cleanable finish that would be appropriate for sanitizing and disinfecting? So it took us because we already had that background, about 3 or 4 months to develop it. And we were out launching that, I think in July 2020. So
wow.
It started in March and we were out already launching that in July 2020.
Okay. Well, that's a lot faster than what you hear about other product development. So congratulations to you for that. So Simone, go ahead.
No, I was saying that, yeah, let's say this was a big step forward in, it's a matter of cleanability and disinfection. Leather per se, if you have any leather piece in your home or the office, everybody knows is the easiest of the fabrics, material to clean, to keep it, it's easy to clean. Obviously you have to be careful. If it's not treated, you can't, just clean it with any chemicals you find. You can just wipe it with Clorox. So you need specific. But leather per se is a very clean material. It's, I have in the car, you just, before we had this capability, you just clean it easily. I have a dogs at home, they come, they jump on the couch. So leather, I think, has that advantage compared to other materials that's easy to clean and maintain. This is definitely a step ahead because, especially in high traffic area, I don't know, it could be a theater, a restaurant, and nowadays these needs is more and more fed, so you can really clean your chairs and or sofas and be sure that you killed eventually every bacteria, virus, whatever could be, in the air. And
so I think it's fascinating. Well, I think it's fascinating. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to mention that regarding the bleach cleanable, we tested in accordance with BIFMA healthcare furniture standards.
Nice.
Coated fabrics. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that plug in there regarding.
So you tested it to the BIFMA standard of coated fabrics. It passes everything, and so what I think is really interesting about this is that it started in 2015. That an aviation company came and said, "Hey, we need bleach cleanable leather, but from the perspective of soil and stain and not sanitization." So you already had the innovation way before anybody really thought it would be necessary, especially in the commercial environment or the contract environment. And then 2020 happens, and all of a sudden there's a huge rise in cleanability and sanitization in public, in any space for that matter, more so than we'd ever seen it before. And so you were to take the foundation of the product you already created in 20 or 5 years earlier, and then enhance it to meet the sanitization perspective that's really needed in the work environment today.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so talk about you said you went and did the finish for existing products. So how many of your lines, how many different colorways? Is this just a limited pattern, or is it available on everything? Can you share a little insights there?
Sure. So there's a total of 7 products that are bleach cleanable. 2 of them are aviation leathers, and these are all sanitizing, disinfecting, not just the soil stain removal. And then 2 of our core contract leathers, the Lena Sierra. They're just your great classic, typical contract type leathers. One's a full grain, one enhanced grain. Then some leathers with some movement. The Fabian, which is a tipped leather, the Vicana, which is a distressed leather, and then the Windsor, which is an antique leather. So that's, I think, makes it special as well. So not only, we looked at it from a perspective of offering a broad selection of product, not just your base product, but product with different effects on it.
Really giving the community the choice, right?
Exactly. And part of that was, contract, obviously a focus on contract, but also on hospitality, where that is also important. In that world, the leathers, distressed leathers with movement are a little more important to them in comparison to the contract market.
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead, Simone.
And one other little footnote there, on all of the bleach cleanable leathers, they also have a water repellency rating of 93.
Okay, so explain what that means. Explain what that means.
So that's a score that they're not water resistant, but water repellent.
Okay.
So the water will not penetrate the leather over a certain period of time.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
So that was a little extra that we added in there during the process.
So how has the market received the new leather, the bleach cleanable? What's been the market response to it?
Oh, great. Right.
Yeah, yeah, overwhelming. Overwhelming.
Overwhelming meaning
Yeah.
more demand than supply.
Now, well, I mean, obviously, you know, there's the initial part
Sure.
phase where people wants to understand better what's the difference before from the leather before, you know. So we had to educate ourselves better, because yeah, when we had the product for aviation was a request, we did it, but you know, was not something that we were thinking about much. So we decided, okay, if we do this, we want to do it well. So you know, there is a lot of study
Yep.
and research behind. So we wanted to be educated and to be able to answer the questions. Then we had to transfer all this knowledge to our reps, our people that work for us. So
Sure.
you know, it was a chain, and then we, you know, with the customers. So yeah, it was overwhelming. Like, we did have a lot of requests. Okay, and you know, in our world,
Yep.
unfortunately, not all 100% of request becomes
Yeah.
business, but you know, as you know, but
Yep.
a lot. It was really, and it still is,
That's great.
because I think you know, hopefully we're looking to better days as far as what is going on. But I think these 2 years will stuck in our head. You know, a lot of the habits that we picked up in these 2 years, I think they're gonna stay with us forever. You know, or at least
Oh, I would
for
absolutely agree with that. Go ahead,
You
Keith.
know, one of the effects from the bleach cleanable, the benefits was that not only are we able to develop new business with it, but our existing company, our
yeah,
existing customers, they put our product in product categories we had not been in. You know, for example, now they're making our leathers available to healthcare applications.
Sure.
It would reclassify our leathers not only, you know, in certain classifications, but now in their product line they also offer our leathers under healthcare options as well. So that's
Yeah.
opened up new markets for us.
That's fantastic. I mean, I love the innovation. I mean, our industry is known for innovation. A lot of that is product innovation. And I mean, like chairs and design and things of that nature. You guys innovated a material that I mean, honestly, when I first heard about it, I'm like, you made leather bleach cleanable. How in the world did you make that happen? And so I love that innovation and what you're doing to help our industry, help our customers solve problems, because that is a problem in the work environment. Sanitization, cleaning things, and it's expanded your reach, right? It's put you into categories that maybe you weren't before. You got testing done, and you know, you're leading the way in our industry, which I also really like, that leading the way, blazing a new trail, if you will, on a product that is definitely in market demand. So congratulations to you guys for doing that. Now, I want to just say to the community listening, we will drop the links directly to the Green Hives website in the show notes, as well as the link directly to the bleach cleanable leather. So you can go directly to that page and check it out. That'll all be in the show notes. So be sure you scroll down wherever app platform you're listening on, scroll down and you'll see the active links there. So it's pretty exciting. So let's go. If you guys are okay, I want to move forward as we start to wrap up in the next couple of minutes, move forward and talk about going direct into the dealer community and talk about some of the benefits that the dealer community gets working directly with you versus using the graded in program. You okay with that?
yep.
Okay.
Keith, I'll let Keith start.
He's
Well, you know,
defaults to you quite a bit, to Keith.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Delegates these things to me. But you know, one of the benefits I think that the dealer community has working with us is, you know, direct link to the leather resource. And as you mentioned earlier, they're becoming more and more important in our industry than ever.
Yep.
And they're serving in a design capacity, design specification capacity more than ever. So, you know, again, sort of the foundation was building on that block we already established and relationships, brand recognition we'd already established with our contract carded OEM programs. In many cases, they already knew us coming to us directly for memo samples. So we sort of streamlined that for them,
Sure.
building that relationship, coming to us directly. Also, you know, we're not carded with everyone. So many times the dealers are looking for leathers to COL. You know, maybe they want to use our leathers, the same leather from, you know, one of our carded manufacturers on a brand that we are not associated with.
Yep.
So building that, building that relationship with them just, simplifies that path for them to do that, make their
Well,
CLA specifications as well.
expanding your reach again, right? You're expanding your reach with
Exactly.
the innovation of the product. Now you're expanding your reach because you're not graded in on every manufacturer, all 3,000 of them, by the way. You're not
Exactly.
graded in on every manufacturer. So this also expands your reach and your opportunity to grow your business, increase your revenues and profits. And so it's a good thing by going directly to a source that we all know is specifying a lot of products.
Yeah, yeah. And I honestly tell you, it was a surprise for me too. I mean, I lived in the United States for 20 years, but this dealer, because the dealer, you think about a shop, right? I mean, I was thinking that instead it could be a design firm. It's a 360-degree service they give to their customer. When I try to explain to my Italian colleagues, it's hard to me to explain because they think about it's a shop. No, it's not a shop. Yeah, it is a shop, but there's way more. It's something that, like, for example, in Italy, we don't have, it's
Right. It does.
we,
We operate
we don't have
differently.
this detail. When you think about dealers, there's so much they can do, and there's so much involved in the decision to help their customers. That's something that it's a new world for me. I mean,
Sure.
Keith, he lived all his life here, knew better, but I was like, at the beginning, like, what do you mean dealer? Why do we, so, but that was a really good move. And I think a great service to the end users, that's what we think always.
Well, listen, the dealer community is really important in our industry. They do a lot. They manage complexities. They have direct relationships with end users and designers that brands don't necessarily have. And they're the front line, and they're a great avenue to go to expand your brand, to expand your reach. And you're bringing value to them in a way that a lot of other companies don't by offering a product that they need. And that they really, and that they need now, and that they're looking for. So it's got lots of benefits, not just to you, but to the community as a whole. So I want to ask a different question as we move on just a minute. Can you talk about like the future of the textile industry a little bit? I'm not a textile person. I obviously know what they are, where to find them. I know what COL and COM means and all that kind of good stuff. But talk to us a little bit about the future of textiles. What do you see coming in the future?
Well, do we start? Okay. I'll start, then I let Keith elaborate further. But we touched before with the synthetic leathers, and so there was a moment where it looked like synthetic leather. That, as Keith pointed, it's not leather.
Right.
It's like no alcoholic wine. Okay. It's
Okay, I love that comparison. As a wine drinker, I get it.
I drink no alcoholic wine. It's not wine. It's something else. So synthetic leather, they're not leather. So, but leather really, it's something that we had from hundreds, thousands of years. It's something that everybody appreciate. And, we also lucky that there's a connection between Italy and leather. There's something you hear a lot. Oh, my Italian leather couch, maybe it's not Italian, but when you say Italian leather, means it gotta be good.
It really does. Yes.
Yeah. So I think leather is gonna be here to stay and actually growing. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we do suffer a little bit of competition from the synthetic leather, but it's not only that it's not leather as far as the name, but also it's a different material. Okay. It's a different material, but they're going to be here to stay as well. So there's going to be a competition between us. But I think the people that are really into design, and when you want to have something warm, like you want to create an environment that is warm, it makes you have some feelings, some leather is the way to go. Then this is what what I see the future regarding to leather. So I see a lot of future. I see that's a material that's going to be always a lot of need of leather. Then in general, the future, I let Keith elaborate what is the future of the
He's passing the buck to you again, Keith.
Yeah. City in fairness, we tend to look at this from a, leather category standpoint, not the broader, textile market, although we do certainly pay attention to that. But, one thing I just want to state about leather is, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions about leather in the marketplace, and that is that we actually are friendly to the environment. We reduce collectively, the leather industry reduces collectively about 2.9 billion pounds of waste, of byproduct that would just be waste going into landfills if we did not source the hides from the meat industry. So it's a byproduct of the meat industry. We do not take hides to create leather. So I think we're a good steward with the environment right there. I just wanted to, sort of mention that because there's a lot of misconceptions about leather in regards to that. The other thing is Simone touched on, leather is just a great classic product that I think will be around forever. It's the most durable out there. It lasts 3 times longer than other materials. So if you can, let's start compounding that. With the furniture, all the leather, all the other resources that have to come into play, that have to be acquisitioned, to replace things 2 or 3 times, and that same piece of furniture lasts 3 times longer if it's covered in leather.
It's a really, really great point, and I appreciate the parallel to the waste. And I want to just make sure I understood. You said 2.9 million pounds of weight?
Billion. Collectively as an industry, 2.9 billion. But
that's a lot.
In regards, that is a lot. In regards to trends, I think one of the things that we identified early is that that environment change in our offices. They're becoming more casual, more collaborative spaces. I guess they're even more open than they ever were now.
Yep, it's true.
But the thing is, what we identified, this goes back 6 or 7 years. We were like, wow, we're seeing a lot of, there's an opportunity here. There's a need for leathers that are not your typical contract color pigmented leathers that are a little more natural, leathers that are have some tipping or some distressing. So we started introducing those leathers 5 or 6 years ago to our contract OEM partners, and they started placing them on their cards and selling them successfully. So that's one thing. One trend that I see still continuing is the more casual environments in the workspace, thus demanding or requiring leathers that are also more casual, not our typical historical contract leathers.
Sure.
We've been very successful with that, and I still see that as a trend. And in fact, that was one of my takeaways from NeoCon this year. I saw a lot of leathers, more and more leathers that are natural, and positive responses from the designers.
That's awesome. Congratulations to you. Now, do you guys have a permanent space at the Mart, or are you in the temporary space?
We have a permanent space.
Yeah.
Where is your showroom at the Merchandise Mart?
It's on 11.
Okay.
11-114.
Okay. So we'll be sure we drop that information as well in the show notes. So if you are in Chicago at the Merchandise Mart and want to stop by their showroom, we'll give you that information. Is that the only showroom that you have outside of North Carolina? That's a Greenhide showroom?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Well, we know it's a destination when it comes to furniture, right? So just for a few things. So, well, gentlemen, I really, really appreciate you educating me on leather. Congratulations on all the success that you're having. The new leather, the bleach cleanable, that's fantastic. I really appreciate the draw and the parallel to the fashion industry and how you're bringing that into the leather and working it, and how you're expanding your reach into the dealer community. So congratulations on all your success. I'm so glad we had the opportunity to meet Keith. Simone, it's been a pleasure to get to know you as well. If our community listening would like to get in touch with you guys, what is the best way for them to do that?
I guess by email.
Okay, great. You don't have to say it. We'll drop your email addresses into the show notes as well. So if you're interested in that, website will be there. Email addresses will be there. And if you guys are on LinkedIn, we'll be sure to put your LinkedIn profile there as well so people can connect with you. Just remember, if you do reach out to them, please let them know you heard them right here on the Trend Report. And that's why you're reaching out, especially to all you dealers that are maybe looking for material options that maybe are not working directly with Greenhide. Be sure to reach out to them to learn about their dealer program and how they can help you be successful too. Guys, thank you so much. Any final thoughts?
We appreciate this opportunity to share.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad to have you. And
Talk to having us. Yeah.
oh, well, it's been fantastic. And Simone, when you get ready to go back across, let me know. I might try to fit in your suitcase. Okay.
Okay.
So,
You should, yeah.
They don't have
And by the way,
non-alcoholic wine there. There's no non-alcoholic wine.
that's okay. I don't want an alcoholic. I don't want a non-alcoholic.
We didn't say this. Our tannery is like 35 minutes outside Venice, so it's even a nice area to be.
Okay, yeah, I really want to go with you. So this is a total sidebar. We're wrapping up this episode, but total sidebar. My daughter is a fashion student in college. She's a freshman in college, and she is actually doing a semester abroad in Italy. And Venice is one of the places that she's going. She's going to Rome, Venice, and somewhere. It's not a full semester, but it's a study abroad program, and she'll be there. It's in the spring sometime. She'll be there, so it's pretty cool.
She's gonna love it.
Yeah. My wife and I are jealous. So, anyways, we're gonna wrap this episode up. We're gonna wrap this episode up, folks. Thanks for joining us on the Trend Report today. We'll see you again next week. Take care.